President of the United States cannot walk. Just after noon on December 8, 1941, he moves down the aisle of the House chamber on the arm of his son, James, a Marine captain in uniform. 10 pounds of steel locked around legs that polio took from him 20 years ago. Every step is a controlled fall. The chamber is packed. Senators, congressmen, the Supreme Court, the cabinet, and every one of them stands and roars. Because yesterday morning, the United States Pacific Fleet was bombed at its moorings. Franklin Roosevelt has come to ask for war. But not the war his own planners have spent 2 years preparing for. In his hand is a speech of fewer than 500 words. The night before, he dictated it in one sitting, then went back over the first line with a pen. His draft read, "A date which will live in world history." He crossed out world history and wrote one word above it, infamy. The edit tells you what the speech is for. It is not built to inform, it is built to ignite, and it names only Japan. That omission is not an oversight. It is the most calculated silence of Roosevelt's presidency. The evening before, in the Oval Study, his Secretary of War argued against it. Henry Stimson, 74 years old, a Republican serving a Democrat, a man who has already served under 4 presidents, pushed to declare war on Germany in the same breath. His reasoning is in his diary. Germany has pushed Japan forward. The axis is one machine. Strike all of it now. Roosevelt refuses, and to see why, you have to see what is sitting in the safes of the War Department. For over a year, American strategy has rested on a document almost no voter has ever heard of. In November 1940, the Chief of Naval Operations, Admiral Harold Stark, put the choice on paper in a memorandum his staff called Plan Dog. If America is drawn into a 2-ocean war, the Atlantic comes first. Germany is the enemy that can actually win. Japan can be held. Germany must be broken. Through the spring of 1941, American and British officers met in secret in Washington and wrote that choice into joint war plans. Defeat Germany first. Everything else waits. There is one problem with the plan, and it is standing outside the Capitol right now, in the crowds along Pennsylvania Avenue. The American public is not angry at Germany. Germany did not bomb Pearl Harbor. The bodies still being pulled from the water of Battleship Row are the work of Japan, and the fury of 130 million people points west across the Pacific. Away from the enemy, the plans say must be destroyed first. If Roosevelt stands in this chamber and asks for war on Germany, he invites a debate he might not win. In a Congress that 4 months ago extended the draft by a single vote in the House. So he asks for the war he can get and says nothing about the war he needs. The speech takes barely more than 6 minutes. Within the hour, the Senate votes for war on Japan, 82 to nothing. The House follows, 388 to 1. The one being Jeannette Rankin of Montana, a pacifist who voted against war in 1917 and will not change now. By early afternoon, the United States is at war with the Japanese Empire. And with no one else? Look at what that leaves stranded. 2 years of secret planning point at Berlin, and there is no legal state of war with Berlin. The undeclared shooting war in the Atlantic, U-boats and American destroyers already trading torpedoes and depth charges. The USS Reuben James, already sunk with over 100 sailors dead, remains officially not a war at all. Roosevelt cannot ask Congress to fix it. He has no attack to point to, no German Pearl Harbor, and he knows better than anyone that Congress declares wars in this country, not presidents. 4 days earlier, the problem got worse. On December 4th, The Chicago Tribune printed the government's most closely held secret across its front page, the full war plan, Rainbow 5, including its judgment that Germany is the primary enemy. Roosevelt's political opponents call it proof he is scheming to drag America into Europe's war. The leak is a scandal in Washington. It is also being read, word by word, in Berlin. Because the one man who can solve Roosevelt's problem is not in Washington at all. He is 1,000 miles inside Russia, in a headquarters compound in an East Prussian forest, watching his invasion of the Soviet Union freeze to a halt outside Moscow. In the next 72 hours, Adolf Hitler will do for Roosevelt the one thing Roosevelt cannot do for himself, and he will do it voluntarily. At the hour Roosevelt is being helped down the aisle of the House chamber, the man who will rescue his strategy is standing in a forest where the temperature has collapsed and the war has stopped obeying him. The Wolfschanze, Hitler's field headquarters in East Prussia, is a compound of damp concrete bunkers 1,000 miles from Berlin, and the news arriving there is the worst of the war. 3 days before Pearl Harbor, the Red Army came out of the snow in front of Moscow and attacked. The German army, which was supposed to have already won, is falling back. This is the picture Adolf Hitler holds when word of Pearl Harbor reaches him on the night of December 7th. His armies are freezing in summer clothing. Engine blocks are cracking in the cold. The plan that staked everything on destroying the Soviet Union in a single season has just failed. Visibly, in front of the capital it was supposed to take. And into that failure comes a radio report that Japan has crippled the American fleet. His translator, Paul Schmidt, later described the reaction at headquarters as relief, almost deliverance. Understand what Hitler thinks he is looking at. For 2 years he has treated the United States as an enemy in everything but name, and ordered his navy to swallow it. American destroyers escort convoys carrying weapons to Britain. American shipyards are building the tools of Germany's defeat under Lend-Lease. American warships have depth-charged U-boats, and a U-boat has already sunk an American destroyer. Grand Admiral Erich Raeder and his U-boat commander, Karl Donitz, have pressed again and again for permission to fight this war openly. Every time, Hitler has said no. Not yet. Not while the Eastern Front is undecided. Now, in a single morning, Japan has changed his arithmetic. A first-class navy has just pinned American power to the far side of the Pacific. In Hitler's reading, the war with America was always coming. Roosevelt has merely been waiting until his rearmament is ready. Better to strike while the American fleet is burning than to wait for it to recover and choose its moment. What he does not commission, what no one in Germany commissions, is a study of what he is about to fight. There is no staff appreciation of American war production, no assessment from the Army High Command of what a mobilized United States means. Walter Warlimont, deputy chief of the OKW operations staff, later admitted the planners had never seriously examined war with America at all. The chief of the Army General Staff, Franz Halder, is consumed by the crisis in front of Moscow. When the declaration comes, his war diary barely pauses on it. The decision that will globalize the war is passing through no machinery whatsoever. It is one man, deciding alone, in a week when his other war is breaking. And here is the detail the viewer should hold. Nothing requires him to do it. In Berlin, Foreign Minister Joachim von Ribbentrop knows the terms of the Tripartite Pact precisely. The alliance with Japan is defensive. It binds Germany only if Japan is attacked. Japan attacked first, at Pearl Harbor, at Malaya, at the Philippines. On paper, Germany owes Tokyo nothing. Ribbentrop says exactly this when Japan's ambassador, General Hiroshi Oshima, presses him for an immediate declaration. For a few hours, the treaty's escape hatch stands open. Then Ribbentrop consults Hitler and comes back with a different answer. The Führer has decided, on December 8th, Oshima cables Tokyo that Germany will join the war. Negotiators begin drafting a new agreement. Germany, Italy, and Japan, each pledging never to make a separate peace with America or Britain. Hitler boards his train for Berlin to do the thing personally, before the Reichstag, on his own timetable. To those around him, he sounds almost buoyant. He has, he says, an ally that has never been defeated in 3,000 years. Of America's weight, he speaks in a different register. He has told his commanders the United States is years away from mattering. Its society is mongrelized, corrupted, incapable of the discipline war demands. The Chicago Tribune leak of December 4th, Rainbow 5, Germany First, printed in an American newspaper, he treats not as a warning of what is aimed at him, but as proof of Roosevelt's aggression. More justification for the step he has already chosen. The one document that lays out exactly what is coming for Germany, he reads as an insult instead of a forecast. On December 9th, his train pulls into Berlin. The Reichstag is summoned for the 11th. In Washington, no one knows yet whether the declaration will come. Roosevelt's problem is still unsolved. His Congress still at war with Japan alone. The solution is being typed, in German, in the Foreign Ministry on Wilhelmstrasse. The American chargé d'affaires in Berlin has been waiting for this summons for 4 days. Leland Morris is the highest-ranking American diplomat left in Germany. There has been no ambassador since 1938, and since Pearl Harbor, he has been running the embassy on Hermann Göring Strasse with the radio on and the code books ready to burn. On the morning of December 11th, the Foreign Ministry calls. He is to present himself to the Reich Foreign Minister at once. He is shown into Ribbentrop's office. No one offers him a chair. Ribbentrop keeps him standing and reads the declaration aloud from the paper. The Reich government considers itself, as of today, at war with the United States of America. Then the foreign minister, whose own treaty required none of this, raises his voice at the silent American in front of him. "Your president has wanted this war," he shouts. "Now he has it." Morris is dismissed. The entire transaction takes minutes. That is how Germany tells America. How Hitler tells the world takes considerably longer. 3 kilometers away, the Reichstag deputies are packed into the Kroll Opera House. The parliament has met in an opera house since the Reichstag building burned in 1933, which is its own kind of statement. At 3 o'clock, Hitler takes the podium. He speaks for 88 minutes. The actual declaration of war occupies a few seconds of it. The rest is aimed at one man. Deputies who came expecting a war speech get instead a sustained personal attack on Franklin Roosevelt, his family wealth, his New Deal, his failures, and behind him, in Hitler's telling, the Jews who direct him. Hitler contrasts his own life with Roosevelt's, the president born rich, himself a soldier returned from the trenches to poverty. He announces that Germany, Italy, and Japan have signed an agreement binding them to fight the war to the end together. No separate peace. The hall erupts on cue. In Rome that afternoon, Mussolini declares war on America from the balcony of the Palazzo Venezia in a speech that lasts barely 10 minutes, to a crowd whose enthusiasm observers describe as thin. The Axis has now, voluntarily, declared war on the largest industrial economy on Earth. The answer from Washington comes the same day, and its form is the story. Roosevelt does not go to Congress. There is no motorcade to the Capitol, no packed chamber, no radio address to 60 million listeners. 3 days ago, for Japan, he delivered the most famous 6 minutes of his presidency in person. For Adolf Hitler, he sends a piece of paper. The German charge in Washington, Hans Thomson, arrives at the State Department to deliver his government's note. Secretary of State Cordell Hull declines to receive him. Thomson hands Germany's declaration of war to the chief of the European division and leaves. On the day Berlin ends the peace between two world powers, the Secretary of State does not consider the messenger worth his time. The written message Roosevelt sends to Congress runs a few short paragraphs. Germany and Italy have declared war on the United States, it says. The long-known and long-expected has taken place. The forces endeavoring to enslave the entire world are moving toward this hemisphere. He asks Congress to recognize a state of war. There is no rhetoric in it that anyone will memorize. No phrase built to live in history, because none is needed. Hitler has done the persuading for him. Consider what the last 4 days look like from the well of the Senate. A declaration of war on Germany, proposed on December 8th, would have meant hearings, isolationist speeches, accusations that Roosevelt engineered the whole thing. The Tribune leak read into the record. On December 11th, there is no debate at all. The Senate votes for war with Germany 88-0. The House votes 393-0. Even Jeanette Rankin, the lone vote against Japan, will not vote no this time. She answers, present. Within the hour, both chambers declare war on Italy by the same margin of 0. The vote Roosevelt could not have won on Monday is unanimous by Thursday, and he never had to ask for it in his own voice. In 2 years of maneuvering, through Lend-Lease and the draft fight and an undeclared Atlantic War, Roosevelt could never manufacture this. A legal, total, unopposed war against Germany. Hitler manufactured it for him in 88 minutes. And in a headquarters at Cournevel on the French coast, Admiral Karl Donitz reads the same declaration and sees something entirely different in it. The restraint order that has shackled his U-boats for 2 years is dead. Off the American coast, 5,000 miles away, the tankers are still sailing with their lights on. The man who understands fastest what December 11th means is not in Washington or Berlin. On the night of Pearl Harbor, at his country house at Chequers, Winston Churchill heard the news on a wireless set and telephoned Roosevelt to confirm it. He had spent 2 years holding Britain in the war on the promise, to himself, to almost no one else, that America would someday be in it. In his memoirs, he put his reaction in one line: "So we had won after all." That night, he wrote, he slept the sleep of the saved and thankful. But on December 8th, his relief has a flaw in it, and Churchill sees the flaw immediately. America is at war with Japan. Only Japan. Every instinct of an enraged American public now pulls its ships, its aircraft, its coming armies toward the Pacific. If that pull wins, Britain fights Germany essentially alone for years, while America settles accounts with Tokyo. Everything Churchill has built his survival on, Germany first, agreed in secret, never tested in public, could dissolve in the smoke over Hawaii. He resolves to go to Washington in person, at once, and lock the strategy down before it slips. Then, on the 11th, Hitler locks it down for him. Within days, Churchill is at sea aboard the battleship HMS Duke of York, hammering through winter gales so violent the destroyer escort cannot keep up, drafting strategy papers in a sealed ship for over a week while the war changes shape without him. He reaches Washington on December 22nd and moves into the White House itself. The meetings that follow, codenamed Arcadia, run for 3 weeks between Christmas and mid-January. And the argument, Churchill crossed an ocean fearing, never comes. The American chiefs reaffirm it in the conference's opening papers. Germany is still the prime enemy. Her defeat is the key to victory. The decision that was politically impossible on December 8th is simply written down on December 31st, because there is now a declared war with Germany, made in Berlin, and no isolationist in Congress can argue America picked the fight. The two nations go further, a combined chiefs of staff to run a single Allied war. And on New Year's Day, 1942, in Roosevelt's study, 26 nations sign a declaration of common cause against the Axis, pledging, like the Axis Pact it answers, no separate peace. Roosevelt proposes the coalition's name, the United Nations. Hitler's declaration has now produced, in 3 weeks, the exact alliance structure that will destroy him. But in these same weeks, in a requisitioned villa on the French Atlantic coast, the declaration is producing something else. The one dividend Germany will actually collect. Karl Donitz has waited 2 years for December 11th. Within days, he requests a force of U-boats for an immediate strike at the American coast, and is refused most of it. The Mediterranean and Norway have priority. The admiral planning the only offensive Germany can launch against America is allotted 5 long-range boats. He gives the operation a name that says what it is meant to be. Paukenschlag, drumbeat, 5 submarines against a continent. In January, they surface off the eastern seaboard. And their commanders cannot at first believe what they are looking at. America has been at war for a month, and nothing on the coast shows it. The lighthouses are burning, the navigation buoys are lit, the cities throw a glow against the sky that silhouettes every passing ship. Captain Lieutenant Reinhard Hardigan, commanding U-123, comes close enough to see the loom of New York's lights, and later wrote of gazing at the brightness of the city while his crew stood on the bridge in disbelief. The tankers steam alone, unescorted, their running lights on straight peacetime courses. The U.S. Navy has no convoy system on its own coast, and its commander, Admiral Ernest King, resists starting one for months, judging weekly escorted convoys worse than none, while his few escorts are spread across 2 oceans. The result is the worst defeat American sea power suffers in the entire war, and it happens in sight of the beach. Through the first half of 1942, U-boats sink hundreds of Allied merchant ships in American waters. Tankers burning off New Jersey and Cape Hatteras, wreckage and oil washing onto resort sand, vacationers watching ships die from the shore. German crews call it the second happy time. For these few months, Hitler's declaration looks like it is paying. But watch what the drumbeat cannot reach. The shipyards behind those burning tankers are untouched, and they are accelerating. The armies forming in Georgia and Texas are untouched. Every assumption in Berlin now rests on a single calculation: that Germany can win its war before American industry arrives in wait. At Arcadia, the Americans have already put numbers on what is coming. Berlin has never asked for them. The bill for the 88-minute speech arrives faster than anyone in Berlin believed possible. On November 8, 1942, 11 months after the Reichstag session, American soldiers wade ashore in Morocco and Algeria. It is the first American offensive of the European War, and it happens at the Atlantic end of the map, exactly where Plan Dog said it would. The Pacific, where American fury pointed, gets holding actions. Germany, which never attacked America, gets the invasion. Germany First is no longer a secret memorandum. It is an army, landing. The rest follows in sequence. In January 1943, American heavy bombers strike Wilhelmshaven, the first raid on Germany itself, 13 months after the declaration. That same month, Roosevelt and Churchill meet at Casablanca, on ground taken by the November landings, and announced the terms Hitler's own No Separate Peace Pact helped harden: unconditional surrender. Behind the armies comes the weight Berlin never priced. American yards begin launching merchant ships faster than the U-boats can sink them. American factories outbuild not just Germany, but the Axis combined, in aircraft, in trucks, in the escort carriers and long-range aircraft that close the Atlantic air gap. In May 1943, Dönitz, by now commanding the entire German Navy, withdraws his U-boats from the North Atlantic convoy routes. The happy time off the American coast lasted 6 months. The reckoning lasts the rest of the war. Of the roughly 40,000 men who serve in the U-boat arm, some 3/4 do not survive it, the highest loss rate of any service branch on either side. The drumbeat was the entire dividend. This is the cost. The men of December carry their own accounts to the end. Roosevelt lives to see the Rhine crossed and dies on April 12, 1945, 18 days before Hitler shoots himself in a Berlin the Red Army is dismembering block by block. Ribbentrop, who knew the treaty required nothing, said so, and then delivered the declaration anyway, is arrested, tried at Nuremberg, and hanged in October 1946. The first of the condemned to go to the gallows. Leland Morris, the diplomat kept standing while Germany declared war on his country, is interned with his staff for 5 months at Bad Nauheim before being exchanged. His cable reporting Ribbentrop's outburst survives in the State Department's files. 4 paragraphs of bureaucratic calm describing the moment the war became global. Reinhard Hartigan, who looked at the glow of New York from the bridge of U-123, outlives them all. He dies in Bremen in 2018 at 105, one of the last men alive who saw America lit up and unguarded. And one question the record never fully closes: why? No staff study of the decision exists because none was made. Historians have argued for 80 years over what weighed most in those 4 days. The U-boat war he wanted unleashed, the belief that Roosevelt would declare first, contempt for American power, the need for a triumph in a week of defeat before Moscow. Hitler explained himself only in speeches built for effect. The single most consequential decision of his war is the one for which he left the thinnest reasoning. What survives instead is paper. In the Franklin D. Roosevelt Library at Hyde Park, New York, visitors can stand in front of the first draft of the December 8th speech, the typed page where a date which will live in world history is struck through in the president's own hand, infamy written above it. The edit that armed the speech that names only Japan. That is where this began. A president who cannot walk, carried down the aisle on his son's arm on steel braces, asking a unanimous, furious Congress for war against the wrong enemy, the only enemy he could ask for, while the war he actually needed sat locked in the plans, unreachable. 3 days later it was handed to him, in German, translated and delivered to a division chief because the Secretary of State would not come downstairs. Hitler declared war to seize the initiative, to strike the United States while its fleet burned, before Roosevelt could choose the moment, in a war he judged already real in the Atlantic. The declaration was the one thing that let Roosevelt fight that war at all. Without it, Germany first had no legal path through Congress. Hitler supplied the path himself. The largest war in history became fully global not through an attack, but through an announcement. One man, in 4 days, with no study, no requirement, and no plan for what came next. The industrial arithmetic that decided everything afterward was available to him in an American newspaper a week before he spoke. He treated it as propaganda. It was the forecast.